We'll do that.
I just hit got it.
Yep.
Okay, Good Morning ILA. We have Amanda Vasquez with us today, who's the chair of the Intellectual Freedom Committee. And thank you for joining us today, even though you helped moderate this also. My name is Courtney Sogard. I'll be moderator today. And if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the Intellectual Freedom Committee.
Yeah, sure. So I am currently the director at the Dubuque County Library District, but I got involved in the Intellectual Freedom Committee while I was director in Orange City. We had some book drama there, and yeah, it got me pretty heavily involved in intellectual freedom, kind of conceptually, but also the defense of challenge materials. And I was the Gordon Conopole Scholar for the Intellectual Freedom Roundtable and was able to go to the American Library Association on scholarship. And so I got involved in the Intellectual Freedom Roundtable that way, and learned a little bit more about the concept of intellectual freedom more broadly than just material challenges, things like academic freedom and, prisoners' right to read, and like loyalty oaths and all kinds of interesting things that I feel like we don't talk about enough and are really hard to talk about or to find time to talk about when we're spending so much time thinking about defending books. There's, again, another article in the local newspaper here about some changes to the curriculum, and there are kind of some folks who are on the "this is book banning" track, and removing it from the curriculum is not the same thing as making it unavailable. So it's kind of an everyday issue in schools and libraries across the state and the nation as well. But yeah, that's kind of how I got involved in IFRT and ILA's Intellectual Freedom Committee too.
Thank you. And just to kind of a personal question, what is your favorite drink of choice or work beverage?
So today I brought this mug in specifically. I just bought it a week ago. This is like my go-to when I'm stressed out. It just says, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But right now I have vanilla orchid oolong tea. I got turned on to fancy loose leaf teas by my best friend who used to work at Teavana, and now I just have like bags and bags of loose tea and mix and match. But I do not discriminate against coffee. That's kind of my more usual drink, but at work I often will have some tea. That's usually my go-to. But yes, this is my nice new mug. Work has been stressful. I'm sure that's the case for all of us, but I'm like, it's fine. This is my good reminder. It will all be fine.
Going back to your committee that you are chair of, the Intellectual Freedom Committee, what do you think is the benefit of your group and having this discussion today and kind of just letting people more know about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Intellectual Freedom Committee, I think most of its activity in the state is behind the scenes work. So we have a form submission on our page on the Iowa Library Association's website where challenges can be reported. And this doesn't have to be a super formal going through the process challenge. We've assisted with some kind of what I would call non-traditional challenges. Like, I heard through the grapevine that this person is not returning these books about this presidential candidate quite intentionally because of their own political beliefs, or we declined to add this item, and so someone is challenging that decision, not the fact that something exists. So or even if you're just worried and want to have some information for an administrator or your board, so we work a lot one-on-one with folks who are dealing with stressful intellectual freedom challenge type situations. We help with doing research. We'll proof letters or documents they need to send or present. Even just being a helpful listening ear, I think, is the most. We try to check in with folks. I just sent an email last week to someone just to hey, haven't heard from you in a while. How are things going? This can be a low priority. You don't have to respond if you're really busy, but just letting people know that they're not alone, that there are lots of people who are going through challenges, even though they're kept really quiet often. But we also do try to do some presentations and participate in other sort of events that are going on. We're presenting at ACRL later this week, and we are working on conference proposal for ILA's fall conference. We've been invited to go and speak to community groups or other libraries, like a library specific presentation, and try to help educate. We also do a trivia contest with the ACLU of Iowa every year during Banned Books Week, which is super fun and is a nice way to kind of just spread the word about the Library Association, the work of the Intellectual Freedom Committee, and the stuff that we do, and how it's related to other kind of similar causes. So we're spread out really thin, and we are maybe not working directly with all of the association membership, but we're doing a lot of support work for those who need it.
Why do you think that is important overall?
Oh, because I think, I think First Amendment rights are important, and I think people have a right to privacy, and I think that, I have I try to imagine what other people think, people who don't know anything about libraries think about librarians and think about what we do. And they do not think of us as like, heroes of the First Amendment, or heroes of protecting your privacy. And it's not to diminish any of the work that, of the other types of work that librarians do. But yeah, I just think it's important to keep trying to get our message out there. What is it in marketing where you say you have to put a poster up 7 different places if you want people to see it once? So we just kind of keep throwing the information out there and hoping that people see or hear or have concerns, and that if they see something somewhere else, like in the local newspaper, they know that they can come and talk to for more information, or if they have questions or concerns.
Thank you. Why did you join this committee? You kind of covered that, but what actually got you into joining the ILA?
I've had a book burning, and the Intellectual Freedom Committee was super helpful to me in my many material challenges. And it's really different being on this side of helping people with challenges. It can be it's really distressing and can be really lonely to be the director of a library who wants to stand your ground and adhere to what you think are your professional ethics and your legal obligations when you do not have the support of your staff or some of your staff, or you do not have the support of your city. And so, that was a hill I was willing to die on at the time. And, but every hill is different. Every intellectual freedom challenge hill is different. And so I do try to remind people that, follow the law, but it's okay to make decisions that protect your library's existence and protect your job. And, protecting my library's existence is why I'm not at that library anymore, in my personal experience, opinion, whatever. But
do you remember the title of the book?
Oh, there were so many of them. Two Boys Kissing, Morris Micklewhite in the Tangerine Dress, This Day in June. We had like a challenge to a Wonder Woman picture book. No, we did not have a challenge to And Tango Makes Three, actually. There were books that I don't even know if we had that in our collection at that time. There was a new Pride celebration, an organization for which I am now on the board. But there were requests to have more materials with LGBTQIA information, stories, history, whatever, and we bought them, and that made people mad. So, and the fact that I didn't hide them directly on the shelves, and because that would have been discriminatory towards those materials, and that was a problem, and I had staff refusing to purchase those materials, even though they were requested materials from patrons, and it was a big mess. So yeah, I'm trying to think what some of the other books were, but there were several. So
what was your opinion on the Dr. Seuss debacle or whatever you want to call it.
I think
Of
that
intellectual freedom, I guess.
I think that it, taking a few steps back, no one has an absolute right to be published, and so the publisher, as or the holder of the copyright of that material, can make whatever decisions they would like about whether to continue producing that item or not. I think that that publisher's decision is theirs to make based on their own criteria. I do not know the ethics of the publishing industry. I'm not a publisher. I think that because a publisher decides to stop publishing something because of their concerns does not mean that we need to pull it from our library. I was not director at the time here when that happened. We pulled them from the open collection because of concerns about them being stolen or defaced or whatever, but we kept them freely available. We increased the barrier to access in a way that I didn't love, but is also, I think, a justifiable thing. But then they went back on the shelf and they will be weeded according to lack of use, like most other things are. So that was my take. I mean, I think there's not that this, well, I'll just leave it at that. Otherwise we'll just keep talking forever.
Is there any special project that you want to share that's going on right now?
Ooh, yeah, we're presenting at ILA ACRL, which I'm really excited about. And we're kind of taking a more higher level, in-depth look at a topic. So like last year we did the Choose Your Own Adventure, work your way through an intellectual freedom challenge at ILA's annual conference. And we did a session on privacy, kind of pulling directly from the American Library Association's privacy guides. But the session that we are working on for ILA ACRL is more of a discussion session about what does it mean for higher ed and for folks who are working in libraries or who are teaching in higher ed, who have to kind of meet students where they are when they're coming from schools where items have been restricted or where topics have not been covered, or how do you teach, how do you address your content in light of the divisive concepts bill? Just kind of all of these things are interconnected, and I don't think that we have answers. Most of us on IFC are not academic librarians. We have a school librarian, we have a lot of public librarians, and we have an academic librarian, but I think it's just one of those like issues that needs to be teased apart and just really thoughtfully considered. So I'm excited for that. And then we're going to kind of take a similar topic for ILA proposal. It hasn't been accepted, so we'll see, but it's kind of how can we as public or academic librarians support the restrictions that are happening in, or support those working in schools where these restrictions are maybe more prominent in their curriculum or in their own libraries. So get into some high level stuff here, but still focused on challenges and restriction of content. So yeah.
I think we'll just open it up to questions at this time. If anybody has any questions for Amanda?
So hi to Carissa. Carissa is our school librarian who is on Intellectual Freedom Committee. We're glad to have her.
Hello, everybody.
We could also do quick introductions, or does anybody have any questions, or should we stop the recording and go to our social time? Okay, I'm gonna call it. So I'm gonna stop recording. Unless Sandy had a question. No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for Good Morning ILA. We hope you join us next month.